Hey YouTube, it's Tom from Deer and Donuts Outdoors. I'm here to bring you a quick little review on should you take your bow to the bow shop. A little bit different than our product reviews. This is more of a service review. It's going to be a two-parter. Part one is going to talk just a little bit about my bow, a little bit about some of the stuff that taking your bow to the shop can do for you, and then the second part is going to be after the bow comes back. You're going to see some of the changes. Real quick, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at, I have a Bear Cruiser. This was a lower end Bear bow that I bought at Cabela's a couple of years ago, and the reason I did it was because it's fully adjustable. And it also comes with quite a few accessories, Trophy Ridge Whisker Biscuit, Trophy Ridge 4-pin sight, Trophy Ridge quiver. You kind of didn't have to buy anything else, you could just buy this. Over the time that I've had it, I have adjusted it myself. It's fully adjustable from 12 to 30 inch draw and 5 to 70 pound draw weight. I've messed with the weight, I've messed with the draw length, I've messed with the rest, I've messed with the sights, and now I think it's time to have a professional take a look at it and make sure that I'm shooting the bow at its optimum. Just real quick, what my plan of having done is a tune-up. Basically, they're going to make sure that my cams are timed properly, meaning these up here are rotating and releasing at the same time, which is something that they absolutely have to do. They're going to make sure that my rest is aligned and that my arrows are shooting out straight. We're also going to take a look at my draw length and my draw weight. So now we're going to go out and we're going to take a look at how this bow shoots right now. Let's go. So as we discussed inside, we've talked about the kind of bow that I have, the draw length that I shoot, the draw weight that I think I'm shooting. So now we're actually going to come out here and shoot a little bit. What I have behind me over my shoulder is one of my targets, roughly 6-8 yards away, and a homemade paper tuner. Essentially what a paper tuner is it's a piece of paper that you shoot your arrow through. What you're looking for is the hole that the shaft makes to be directly in the middle, with your then 3 fletchings tearing the paper essentially equally. Lets you know that your arrow's coming out flat and smooth as opposed to being tilted one way or another. So I have 3 arrows, different kinds. You can see I've got a gold tip airstrike. I have a Access here, which is an Easton, and then I have another Easton Bloodline. 2 of them are 340 weight, 1 of them is 330, so they're a little bit different. We're not paying attention too much to what I'm actually hitting on the target because my sights are not set for 6 to 8 yards. So we're just looking at the result on the paper tuning. Okay, so now that we've shot a couple arrows, let's take a look at what we can see here. I know it's not going to be the easiest for you guys, so I'll try to describe it as best as I can. Shot 3 arrows. First one was here in the middle. This is my airstrike gold tip. That is a 340 spine. That's my normal shooting arrow. Second one up top here was the Access. A couple years ago I used those. I think I actually got them from Matt. But those are 340 as well. And then down here on the bottom, we have the Bloodline, which is an Easton arrow. So all relatively close. Now, what we were hoping for was a punch out directly in the middle here. But what you can see is that this left side is much more jagged and not as clean as the tears that you get on the other fletchings that came through. Okay, you can see it pretty clearly here as well. Down here on the bottom, this punched out 4 holes. I'm thinking it's just because the paper isn't as tight down here on the bottom, but you can still clearly see that this left side tore a lot more than the other. So basically what we're looking at here is that my tip is coming through left, my nock is coming through more on the right hand side. So my arrow has a slight angle to it. Now, that can be one of a few things. It can be the weight of your arrows, the spine of your arrows. I don't think that's the case, mostly because I've done a lot of research on which arrows I'm supposed to be shooting, and that's why I shoot the ones that I shoot. The second thing that it could be is that it could need to be tuned, which is part of why we're out here doing this video for you guys, so you can see how this shoots in relation to being tuned and restrung by a professional as opposed to shot in the backyard. The third thing that it could be is that my rest is not aligned properly. My rest may need to be moved slightly to the left, which will turn that arrow. Hopefully you guys can see, you know, just ever so slightly. And what that does is that's going to bring the point back in this way, and the nock will hopefully follow straight through. Okay, so now we're going to take a couple shots at 20 yards. I did my best to get the rangefinder in front of the camera to show that it was in fact 20, but I don't have steady enough hands, so you're just going to have to take my word for it, which if you've been here this long, you probably believe the stuff that's coming out of our mouths, so I appreciate it. Now, bear in mind, I foolishly made some adjustments on this bow, which is part of the reason why it's going into the shop, since the last time that I shot. Now, this should be ready for 20 yards on my top pin, but let's find out. As you guys can see, my first shot with the airstrike, pretty spot on. You know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and I think that might be the case here. Shot number 2 was the green fletchings, which is the axis arrow. Rushed it a little bit, which I don't know why I did. Obviously, you guys are taking your time to watch this, so I should have gave you what you deserve, but I rushed it a little bit. And the third shot, the bloodline, definitely a bad shot. I would not want to shoot that out in the woods. But instead of shooting this 4 or 5 or 6 times to try and put 3 right in that center ring, I want you guys to see that not every time you come out and practice are you going to be just peppering the bullseye. Every once in a while, you're going to run into this kind of shot, and it's just something that you got to keep practicing on. All right, everybody, so you've kind of seen a little bit of maybe what they're going to be doing at the shop. Obviously, not a professional, going to leave that to them. But just to give you a little idea of what you might be looking at, and even give you an idea of some things that you could do to your own bow without going in and spending the money. For this particular video, I'm going to leave out the price and some of the other little adjustments and things that we're going to do. I do have a couple purchases that I'm going to be making and taking there with the bow. We're going to feature those in part 2. So if you want to see what this bad boy looks like when I'm all done with it, spoiler alert, it's mostly going to look the same. But hopefully it's going to feel better and shoot better. We hope that this is something that you guys have a little bit of interest in and can maybe find helpful in your own day-to-day shooting with your bow. If you enjoyed it, as always, do us a favor. Subscribe, like, drop us some comments. Let me know your local shop that you take your bow to, or some of the stuff that you do maybe yearly that might help me keep my bow in check. As always, we hope you get to make it out into the woods and enjoy yourselves a little bit. Until next time, take care.